We're not even. Is it 7 o'clock
My
yet?
God, it's after 7.
Man, well, we're 2 minutes late. George Bonnie.
They probably
It's
already
gonna be
come
George
and
Bonnie.
gone. They're already come and gone. You got to present the right way there.
Oh,
There you go.
well, I didn't want to cut down on the pickup of our voices.
Well, you got this like exotic mesh on the back of the hat.
Yeah, my trucker.
Yeah, that's
Trucker
what I'm saying.
mesh.
Right.
First, John Wilburn is first.
Oh my God, it is John Wilburn. There's George Bonnie. John Wilburn beat George Bonnie. And I would have had my money on George all day long.
Yeah, but George, you're slacking the past couple of weeks.
It doesn't say American.
It doesn't. I can't get it to sit there.
Go like this. Push this. Can we push this? No. There. Oh man. Okay. See, we don't have the technology for this.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
It's like the opposite of the $6 million man.
Bingo. There you go. All right. Off-roadigans. What's happening? John Trudell, Otto. There's so many people just White Trash Motorsports. What's happening? Matt, Joe K, Doug Filer. What will probably never happen again? No, man. I know.
No, you probably won't be first again.
Never.
Uncle Squirrel's here.
Insane Stang. Hey, Tony, I have a question. I've been trying to get in touch with you. Email and here, hard to reach guy. I hide all the time. I mean, like literally, you can ask Dallas. It's like I'm the hardest person in the world to find.
Almost, because I hide from Tony all week until we have this thing.
Fubar just put up the link to the AHR, the American Hot Rod Association thing, right?
Yeah, go there, grab some merch.
Yeah.
Get a membership, and then so that way we can keep the lights on in the building.
Oh yeah.
And if you get a membership, Tony will send his. Didn't you have your cat neutered? He will send his cat's balls to your house.
Why would I be sending parts of my pets to your?
I had to go do de-icing in people's refrigerators.
John Trudell, Uncle Squirrel is a troll, 100%. Is he? I don't know.
He's here every week.
Yeah. Terrence Seymour, what's happening? Harley Hawk, what's happening, guys?
He's wanting to know if we've ever messed with a Pontiac Spirit 6.
No, but did you see the Jay Leno? Did you see the latest Jay Leno video?
No.
I saw it a couple of days ago. He's got a Sprint 6 in a Firebird convertible.
Okay.
Oh, what a sweet car that thing is.
The overhead cam, I always wanted to mess with it. They're so hard to find. Where they only come in like Firebird and Le Mans in like 67 and through 69, something like that.
And Fubar put the link to our merch, our shirts. I don't think we have hats anymore. I think the hats are done. I don't think we're selling any more hats. But we got shirts, we got t-shirts, we got stickers,
You got new shirts?
We don't have them yet.
Are they in new shades of black?
New shades of black. Futuristic shades of black.
Awesome.
Yes.
Excuse me.
God bless. Rocky Myers, yes, you're 100% Cabral fan. Rocky, you're a Brian fan? That's awesome. Matt, Tony, did you tell Dallas about Direct Connection's true intentions? No, I keep Dallas in the dark about everything.
I watch his video. I've been a lot more participant, I guess, in the world of YouTube. If you haven't been over on watching my new channel on Mr. Rotter's Neighborhood.
It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood.
It is.
Let's see. Uncle Squirrel is. I can't even. I can't really make heads or tails of what's going on. Can you make any sense?
I'm thinking they're saying Uncle Squirrel is a troll.
Okay.
Let's see. They were talking about the Pontiac Spirit 6, right? The overhead cam.
Sprint 6, yeah.
Or Sprint 6, I'm sorry. And I guess that's it. And then Harry Australia just got here from Adelaide.
Kinsley's Tay-Sachs Miracle, building a sprint car engine out of a big block. Should I go with a 400 or 451 stroker? Oh, see,
man,
I don't.
That's all based around rules. That's where you want to look at rules.
Yeah.
Are they a weight to cubic inch thing?
So I said, but it's not just the rules. I mean, How compatible is the geometry of that engine with what they do? The 400's got a really heavy piston. It's got a big.
But isn't the 400 like a 383 and they like to rev?
Well, it has a really big piston. It's the biggest. The 400 Mopar is the biggest bore of all big block racers. The 440 is a 4.32, and the 400 is 20,000 larger than that. It's 4.34.
Oh, really? Okay.
I would be more inclined if I was building a sprint car engine, and I know nothing about sprint car engines, but if I was building something that had to live consistently over like 6,000 RPM, I would probably do it with a 3D, base it off a 3D3. I think the stroker crank or the same one you use in a 451, which should be a 440 crank, 3.75 stroke, you'd end up with a 426 low deck. And if you use the 440 rod, I think you might have a good combination to run in that consistent high RPM range. But I don't know enough about those engines. You know anything about sprint car motors?
No, I don't. And here's the thing: is like, I know it's just like drag racing when you go class racing, and you before you even determine trying to build a motor, you need to figure out what's the best combination for what you have, right? Like, what can you fit in there financially wise? And more or less, you're going to end up looking at the rules for 4 months before you figure out anything.
Well, Sean Fenner is saying sprint car is small block only out west and no canted valves. So that leaves your Clevelands and stuff like that out.
And your polys.
And your polys. Could you imagine somebody trying to run a poly?
Well, that's what Animal Jim talked about in the video that I did last night for Drag Racing History.
Yeah.
He said that he's like, if you had canted valves, you had to carry 7.3 pounds per cubic inch. I said, that was the most out of any engine. He said, well, if you had a poly, you would have had to run that too. Right? So I can only imagine. Poly was out.
Guys, if you're in, so he just put up a new episode on the Drag Racing History channel, and you've got Animal Jim Fuhrer.
Yeah.
Who is like, okay, you know Pro Mod. Everybody knows Pro Mod, right? Well, Jim was he invented Pro Mod.
Yeah,
him and
pioneer.
Bill Pullman.
Yeah,
right.
Pioneer Pro Mod.
So I mean, I haven't seen the video yet.
Well, but the neat thing about it is that, okay, so because it actually all evolved from AHRA Pro Stock class, which allowed nitrous on small blocks. Right. And that's where Jim was running nitrous on Cleveland motors. And then when the AHRA disbanded, he was kind of left. They created a outlaw Pro Stock class.
Right.
Well, he didn't have to run a 353 cubic inch Cleveland anymore. So he started building, 600 cubic inch big block Fords with nitrous on them. And that's where it went.
So AHRA Drag Racing History channel. You've got Animal Jim, like the guy who invented Pro Mod.
He is the showman of the showman. I always like the flamboyant stuff that he wore, like the crazy glasses.
Yeah, I knew Jim way back in the day. We were running IHRA Funny Car, and they were running a Pro Mod, so we were always seeing each other here. You know,
right.
Let's see. Let's see. Joe Brennan wants to know when you're going to showcase the Cleaver in your T-Bird.
Oh man, I got to drag it out of. It's in what do you call it when it's permanently in storage? Cold storage. It's in cold storage. I'd have to drag it out of there. Tony came by and saw it, wanted to do a video on it.
Yeah, it's a neat car. I mean, it's a really nice car. He keeps hidden. Otto 1303. Tony, any possibility of a live slant 6 build when the crank comes in? Probably not, because I want to. There's like a lot of little things I want to tweak on the engine, you know, and it's one of those things where I go in there at night and I just I file a little off of here and I fit a little bit off of that. So I don't really see that as being a live kind of thing.
Rocky Myers was saying, who is the IHRA Pro Stocker running turbo V6 Buick? That
Buddy
was
Ingersoll.
Yeah, that was Buddy.
So been around drag racing my whole life. The coolest car. I'm going to say one of the top 2 or 3 coolest cars I have ever seen was Ingersoll's Pro Stock. The turbocharged Pro Stock Grand National was just off the chain. That car.
That to me was like the most gut wrenching thing, because everybody in Pro Stock was trying to outlaw this dude. I mean, like, the racers were crying, the the track officials were crying and everybody was crying. And the sad part was it was the only damn car on the property running pro stock that had you could go buy something like it. You know,
I remember Darlington in 1987. So Darlington in okay, so if you go back to that period of time, right? You had IHRB was running these Mountain Motor Pro stocks and Pro Mod, and they kind of overlapped a little bit in that there was a period of time there where
Top Sportsman actually fit in there too, and was
well, they didn't call it Pro Mod; they called it Top Sportsman. Exactly. It didn't become Pro Mod. You know, I completely forgot about that. It was called Top Sportsman. But there was a period of time there where there was the race to the first door slammer 200, right? And this was in 1987. So I guess it started in 86. And then in 1987, you had the Mountain Motor Pro stocks were right there. Like I remember Ricky Smith was running like 194, 195 with his T-Bird. Glidden was like right behind him, running like 192, 193.
Jim talks about that day. He said he was standing in a line to get in.
Right.
And he looks over and there's Koolman in the pits and his car's got, he says, it's got this big effing wing on it, right?
Yeah.
And he's got tape all around the windows and he's like, he's going to try to run 200 today. And it was there when he did. So I will never forget that night. That was, I don't want to get like start rambling and stuff like that. But I tell you, so that night I was there. It was at Darlington. I was working on Jerry Caminito's funny car, who he crashed it at that event. So like I was like I had nothing else to do, just killing time. Yeah.
So and at the same time I was also working for Cars Illustrated magazine. Okay. So I says, well, no more funny cars for the weekend. I'm just going to go do magazine stuff. So I ran and I got a press pass and I went down on the starting line and now I'm shooting for I'm shooting the cars. So it was a nighttime session and all day long people were taking cracks at this 200. Right. It was no longer like a normal qualifying thing. Now it was like if somebody wanted to take a shot, you know what I mean? They could be running stock or whatever it was.
Hold on a minute.
Yeah, hold on a minute. Get out of the way, right?
Yeah.
And Ricky Smith would make a pass and then everybody go back to doing the thing. So all day long, like the atmosphere was like no other drag race I've ever been to. Okay. So it's halfway through the Top Sportsman qualifying. Okay. And everybody is just knocking right on the door, like the 198, right? Bob Vandergriff. Remember the 50s?
Robbie Vandergriff?
Yeah. He had gone like a 199 or something. Everybody was like clustered right there. And I don't know if you know Darlington, okay, but Darlington has like a long photographer's area. It's just a long skinny photographer's area, and there's a wall behind you where the stands are, and then the guardrail with the track. So everybody's clustered shooting in this one area. Okay, right at the end of that. So it's about 100 feet, not even 100, probably about 60, right about the 60-foot clock. So Koolman comes out, right? And I didn't know Bill Koolman other than just as, he's just another one of the Top Sportsman guys. He wasn't really a hitter.
Right.
But he does this fucking burnout, okay? Rolls past us, and this thing is sounding like nothing I've ever heard, okay? Right. It's its own thing going on. I have no idea what he did. But my instincts kick in, and I'm like, I got to get pictures of this. This is going to be it. He's going to run the number.
Right.
So he stages the car, and I jumped over the photographer's area, and I ran about 100 feet down the track, right? And I had the motor driver on the camera. So I crouched down against the wall.
And just hold the
dumbest place in the world to be, but I knew history was going to happen, And he blasted by me. I got the motor drive going. I look up at the clock, I'm 202 miles an hour. I was like, that was it, history. And we ran that in Cars. It's in Cars Illustrated magazine. My sequence from that thing.
But everybody was chasing it, and that was all from their group. They had a Midwest Pro Stock group.
That was the greatest night of drag racing I've ever been a party to. You had to actually be there to appreciate it.
Muscle City Madness. Thank you,
sir.
He says, Dallas, aka Mr. Rodder. Congrats on the new channel and thanks for all the amazing vids. Keep trucking. And he's been on there a couple of times. So
has he?
Yeah.
Excellent.
Posted stuff up about how much I suck. No, I'm kidding.
Kenny Duttweiler is a badass too when it comes to turbocharged. Yes, absolutely. But
there was a guy named Lawrence Connolly who was really like big into him. Kenny Duttweiler built the motors, but Connolly had a car, and everybody's probably seen it. It's called Tweaked. It was called Tweaked. It was in the 90s. It was like a teal color with a pink lettering.
I don't remember that car.
Oh man, that sucker was fast, but it was so inconsistent. It'd be pushing head gaskets out and kicking rods out, and the early days of Pro Mod when they're trying to run the V6 Buick at 35 pounds, 40 pounds of boost.
Well, that's how we got started on that, because Ingersoll was in the running with the V6.
Mm-hmm.
He was one of the people we're betting on, and he actually probably could have done it. I mean, like, he just didn't. But I think he was one of the favorites actually going into that.
I remember if you look on, I think it's on YouTube, matter of fact, there's a video of like a 1985 IHRA or 86 AHRA. It may have been 87 IHRA. I'm sorry. Event. And they would have had Mountain Motor Pro stock, right? And Ingersoll was running all these guys, and they did an interview with Bob Glidden down at the end. And see, Buddy was off by like 0.2 off the mark, or a tenth off the mark. The pro stockers were faster, right? But the mile an hour, he'd have 10 mile an hour on him at the top end, right? And I mean, it was like, don't let off Bob Glidden, because he's gonna come around you like you're in park.
Those Thunderbirds, those turbo coupe bodies that they were using were slick.
Yeah, that's what my T-Bird is.
I know.
We didn't pull it out. I guess we should probably do a video on it. As soon as springtime hits, I'll do a video on it. Okay. We'll resurrect it and get it running, because it sounds mean.
We should prime it and take a street racing.
No one's gonna race you. It's pretty obvious. Let me cover up old Blue here.
VMAX BX Tony, I was at Mopars in Englishtown 1990. Were you there? Just curious. I started that event. I started Mopars in Englishtown when I was with High Performance Mopar magazine. 1990, was I there in 1990? Probably, I don't know. It's all blur. We started that event in 1986.
Abel D's asking, Uncle Tony Dallas, how much do you estimate you spend one day at the track? Well, one day at the track. It depends really what you're racing.
Yeah, depends exactly.
My T-Bird is an 88. So it looks like the Bob Glidden red and white one.
Let's see. Glidden's T-Bird. Right, we've talked about that. 1, 2, 3. I don't care. Okay. Tony, can we talk? Sure. Let's talk. The future of cheap parts. I have no idea what you're saying. 1, 2, 3. I don't care. Cameron Covington, Tony, any updates on the XJs? I sold the white one. The white one I sold months ago now. I loved it, but it just I didn't have any place for it. I got so many freaking cars and trucks. I didn't have any place for it. I've got the EEP on the side over here, and I got to pull the tranny on that. I got to change the front pump on the tranny. And the other one, the other XJ, I just drive every day. I didn't think it was going to end up as a daily driver, but it's such a perfect vehicle for like everything. It does everything.
My favorite one was the funnel, the UTG funnel video with the white XJ. That was the only purpose of the white XJ apparently while I was here, was to get oil splashed all over it. Yeah, Joe K is saying something I just found out was that GMC had a 305 cubic inch V6. Yes, they did. They had big V6s in their trucks.
Nathan Carey, Tony, you were so close to grenade that poor slant 6. Yeah, it was close. I cut. Wait. Well, I don't know how much. Keep busy for now.
Sure.
The crank that I cut.
He said, Tall Garage is asking if you're going to do anything spicy with the slag hammer engine. It's got a tunnel ram on it. That's pretty damn spicy. All right.
With the slag hammer, I'm going to probably do just whatever Al and Ethan want me to do. They're going to put that 383 together just because I want to put that 383 together. But those are the guys, they're going to take the car out and use it. So I guess I'll just do whatever it is that they want me to do. So I cut the front of the crank off, that slant. And as it turns out, you can't, I don't know if you can read this. I'll bring it up to the camera. There are 4 cracks. 5 actually. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This one here, so it broke right on. You could see the occlusion right there, right?
What's funny is it's not even following the freaking oil line.
No, it's opposite the oil line. But that crack runs in. You can see it at about 1/2 inch. You see its tail is right there. But I'd have to clean this up better than what it is. I'll show it to the camera. Tell me if you can see.
Doug Narden says we have a donor crank now. Bring on the stunt crank. Throw that puppy.
All right. How am I doing here?
We're trying to look at the journal, right? So you want to you need to lift it up some. There you go.
All right, my thumb is on the first crack.
You need to come up some.
Come up.
Yeah.
Good.
There you
go. Okay, it says crack 1, crack 2, crack 3, crack 4, crack 5. Oh, look at that. Crack 6. There are 6 cracks. There was one big one that was buckled that you could run your finger over it and feel it, but you can't anymore because it's cut now and all the stresses are relieved. But this one right here is, I believe, the one that I saw.
Greg McDonald says build a slant 4 out of that crank.
So can you see that? Can that be seen? Can you see those cracks?
You cannot see it. The camera is not that high quality, and we don't have enough light in that area.
Okay. So yeah, it's not just one crack, it's like 5 or 6.
And Pirate Greg says copper coat it, and it should be
fine. Where's Mike Padilla, Mr. Copper Coat?
My buddy would have said add 2 more degrees of timing and send it back out for another pass.
Right. Got to be 50 horses per crack. Travis Wright. Uncle Tony, my 14-year-old daughter saw you cut up the direct connection license plate the other day, and she said, Dad, that breaks my heart. She was very sincere, and she is a Mopar girl. Oh, geez, I'm sorry, Travis. You know what, Travis? Send Uncle Kathy a message, UncleTony'sGarage.com or at gmail.com, UncleTony'sGarage@gmail.com, and let me send your daughter that plate. At least she'll have something to,
remember
she can stick it back together again. She can tape it back together again or something. Uncle Kathy, send it to Uncle Kathy at UncleTony'sGarage@gmail.com and just put in the subject line plate so she'll know to look at it. And Kathy, if you're watching this at home, keep an eye out for that. Tell her I'm sorry, man. Travis, tell her I'm sorry.
You're making a point.
Yes, I know.
Well, the sad part is it seemed like everything was going to go well because you remember seeing the memes running around where like everybody's building electric cars and Chrysler's trying to figure out how to put a Hellcat motor in a freaking minivan. Right. And then that went sideways. That's what was so disheartening was that everybody's jumping on this. I hate to say it, and it looks to me like it's obvious, but all right, has Ford committed to putting the kibosh on anything? No. Why? Because they're the only ones that didn't take any money, so the government doesn't hold anything over their head.
No, Ford is going.
They're dumping everything gas.
I believe they're dumping everything gas. I'm not paying attention to it because the whole thing is just so nonsensical.
I know that the electric car thing. I mean, I was all for it, and I wanted to do something different in the world with drag racing with that thing, right? Because there's tracks that literally cannot stay open because they have a curfew or a noise ordinance in place. Well, guess what's a byproduct of having an electric drag car? It sounds like a flashlight. Nothing, right? No noise ordinance problems there. And that way you can stick it up Karen's rear.
Doug Rutley, Tony, you're gonna maybe nitride the new cast crank for the Slant 6. I'm not having a surface problem. The surface is fine. It was an oil starvation issue. JK, Billy Lane, motorcycle builder from Bikerbo. I know exactly who he is. Lives near you. He's in Colombia. It would be neat to see you two do something together. He said he'd be interested. I tell you, I would love to work with Billy. He's the guy is just so freaking talented. It's ridiculous. If you ask me, he's probably out of all of the people that were involved in their whole biker build-off thing. That was a craze. I guess it was maybe 15 years ago now. He was the most talented, most innovative of the bunch. With Jesse James, I think a close second. But what I like what he's doing is he's got this. He's part of this group called the Sons of Speed, and what they do is they recreate these old board track motorcycles and they race these old board track things, which I think is just off the chain. So yeah, I tell you what, if you're in contact with Billy Lane or anything like that, yeah, please have him get a hold of me. I'd like to talk to him.
You could have him do the Sportster. You're 61.
No, I don't want to touch that bike.
But to have Billy Lane clean it up.
It's fine. No, it doesn't
make
matter.
it perfectly stock.
It's as clean as it needs to be. It's perfect just the way it is. I get another one. I can get another one. Maximum Dastardly sent $5. Thank you, sir. Garage 54 can weld that crank for you. Yeah, I'm sure they can. Charlotte calling Indian Larry ruled. I take nothing away from Indian Larry.
Yeah, he was the king of the old schoolers. He made some of the neatest looking old school stuff. You would swear it was built in the 60s when you saw it. That's what I liked about it.
Indian Larry was more of an artist than a builder innovator. You know what I mean? I know he did things like he built one bike out of a welded chain. He built a frame.
Right, I remember that. I watched it. Yeah.
Okay. So, but he was more of an artist than an innovator, right? Or a builder. So I mean, I take nothing away from him, but I would say that Billy Lane was probably the most talented.
He did a lot of the 60s stuff, and a lot of the 60s stuff is, if you look at it, it had its own, I guess it'd be its own time frame, or you can't really call it an artistic mode, I guess, but it's like it would have been, the Renaissance era of automotive industry, especially the aftermarket stuff.
Well, out of all of those guys that were doing that back then, Indian Larry was probably the only one that I could identify with, because of his style, right? His thing was you want to see the gizmos. You know what I mean? It's right. Like people go out of the way to smooth them out or hide them or whatever, and he was like, no, front and center. Here's an oil line. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I identify more with what Indian Larry did by a long shot. But now you're talking about take your personal tastes out of it. Just look at what each person can do.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Charlotte Cohen had a Bible verse tattooed background on his neck. He was a character. I sold him a pickup truck full of Yamaha stuff. Probably around
Larry?
Yeah, Indian Larry. Back around, I guess it was like maybe 1996, 1998, something like that. His shop was only about 30 miles from my house in New York.
John Puckett, he says, have you heard about Atlanta Dragway closing? Yes.
Mm-hmm.
That was old news. The newest ones are, how about PBIR, Palm Beach International Raceway, Gandhi.
That's not old. That's not new news.
I know. And then you got Cordova was just sold.
French Onion says, Tony built the best bikes. No, I didn't.
Chris Greenway is making sure that I know that Ford is going EV. They're going EV in 2030. You know why it's 2030? Because in 2023 is when all that mandate comes out. And that's when, if you look, that's when Chrysler dumps the Hemi. That's when all the other stuff is happening too. The emissions mandate that Barack Obama put in place in 2010 or whatever it was, 2014, maybe 13.
Sean Fenner says Indian Larry was great, more of an artist. He made the crazy wheel with no visible hub. That was not Indian Larry. That was Billy Lane.
That was Billy Lane.
Scott James says Atco was a sea hair from being sold last year. I don't know how Atco is still functioning, to tell you the truth. I mean, 20 years ago when I was there.
Right now is the what's the one in New Hampshire or New England Dragway.
New England Dragway.
Yeah, that one's, everybody's freaking out about it being sold, and I don't think it's going to be sold that easy. I mean, because the shareholders is who runs that. What will happen to the new Ford 7.3? Oh, the Godzilla? No, I don't know. I don't think that the 1 tons and 3/4 ton trucks have the same emissions requirements as your half ton. That's why your regular passenger cars and the trucks or in small trucks, half ton and less, are subject to regular automotive emission standards.
What about Arlen Ness? Yeah, I know. Arlen Ness was like the Boyd Coddington of motorcycles, and I just.
Oh wait, I think I know who you're talking about. Big, wide fenders and wide wheels. Yeah.
All that tribal shit. Hazy Sativa. I remember Larry's shop, but I was only there a few times. I was only there one time. It left a lasting mark because he was such a great guy, and Dad used to run with the Richmond. Okay. Let's see. Connor Rice. Hey, Tony, is Junkyard Jet going to be the 833 overdrive? No, they have a regular close ratio.
Is Maple Grove still open? Nice track. Yes, that one's still open.
I heard something about that one too, though.
Are they closing?
Not that they're closing, but it's up for sale or something.
Maple Grove? I seen Thompson just went up for sale.
Doug Rutley, Ron Finch, really the king of psychedelic choppers there in Detroit. I'm not familiar with his work. Ron Finch, or maybe I am, and I'm just not placing the name. Charlotte Cohen, did you meet Indian Larry's wife? No, I never. I like I said, I knew he was into Yamaha stuff. I had a couple of bikes that I had parted out. I sold a lot of bike parts when I was in New York. So I had a bunch of stuff in the backyard, and I got a hold of him. He wanted it, and I dropped it off there. Mostly old parts. Ron, what's going on, Ron? Ron wants to know, it's almost winter. What events does AHRE have in store for the upcoming spring?
Oh, well, I'm still working on that right now. So I'm working on something super duper top secret with a guy named John Wilburn. I like to call him Big Wilbur.
Go Big Wilbur.
Yeah. And then we're going to bring the slanted gnats back, but it won't be so much the slanted gnats. It's going to be like the inliner gnats, but it'll be like the domestic inliner gnats. But we'll see. I'm still working on all that stuff right now.
Zero popped in. What's going on, Zero?
Okay, you may be right.
Dakota, yes, you met Big Wilbur once. We've all met Big Wilbur. He see, that's the thing. He's not a myth. French Onion wore a helmet ever since then. What French Onion? What helmet did you since? Since Indian Larry's stunt. Yeah, that was just bad.
He used to do that all the time, just to prove his bikes were balanced, right?
I don't know why he did that.
I have no idea. In his life. Milan was bought and is staying in drag strip. Oh, I didn't see that. Usually I'm on that. KCIW is all over that, and I didn't see that.
Oh, good. Okay, John Wilburn has timed out Dakota, so the world is back in balance. The Kickendall, what's happening, brother man? Uncle T, did you ever catch Evil Knievel? No.
I have not. Muscle City Madness is asking about Wild Horse Pass drag strip in Phoenix. I have not heard anything about them closing. They just opened that track not too long ago.
My opinion is that all of the larger tracks are doomed.
Well, a lot of them are going away.
Yeah.
And if you haven't noticed, this year's been like the epitome of tracks going away. If you really want to look at it, there's like This year, I would say I probably know of 12 that have been shut down completely or sold. And that doesn't mean that they're going away. They're just sold, right? And you don't know what's happening. Like Milan just disappeared at the beginning of the season, right? Oh man, it's in. Who knows what's going on with it? It's a bunch of money owed to the guy from the pawn shop or whatever, Pawn Stars. I don't know, one of the pawn shows. But yeah, and then here it is. It's about to be coming back.
Yeah, I don't see a future. Drag strips operate on such a tight margin. They always have. Electric, it costs a fortune to light those places. The insurance is crazy for them. It's track owners don't. Okay, so here's the thing. Big tracks almost always operate at a deficit, and they count on one or two big events during the course of a year, like Englishtown. Englishtown ran the whole year at a loss, and they would make money on the Night of Thrills. They made money on the Summer Nationals or the Mopar Parts Nationals. They make money on. I just talked to Vinny Knapp about this stuff.
But you're not making hand over fist money. You're making like peanuts, but right. They all add up.
And the swap meets, the Englishtown used to make money off the swap meets. So there were just a handful of events that actually saw a profit and carried the track through the rest of the time. Every time they would open for, let's say, a Wednesday night or a regular Wednesday night or a test and tune type of thing or a Sunday afternoon, they lost money. It cost them money. So without bigger events to carry the burden of a larger track, they're doomed. There's just no way to make money with them.
I'll put it to you this way: the COVID year, the first year of COVID, when everybody locked everything down, the writing was on the wall for about half them tracks.
Yeah.
Right? Because they could not survive going 1 year without having a large event.
Well, the whole large event thing is over. Like NHRA events, they can't draw flies. They'll have one or two events where, and I think it's mostly in entertainment starved areas where they'll get a decent crowd. In Vegas, they get a good crowd. Mm-hmm. But for the most part, like I saw the pictures from Pomona, and it's like they had the whole spectator side was just closed, like it was empty. It was just nobody on the spectator side at all, and the pit side. Maybe an eighth full. There was like 60 feet between people. So it's over. The NHRA thing is over. Big drag racing is over. But on the flip side, the smaller tracks, like Buffalo Valley over here, or any of the smaller, low overhead tracks, they're making money. They've got more cars. They're higher because the bigger tracks closed. The smaller tracks have higher car counts than they ever did. They have small overhead. They're in areas where there isn't a lot of tax. They don't have to always keep lawyers on retainer to fight this and fight that.
Well, Buffalo Valley is a perfect example of that. It's like nowhere. Right.
Yeah.
It's like nowhere.
Drag racing has a very good future as long as you don't compare it to what was in the past. If you want to see drag racing's future, you have to go to, let's say, the mid to early 1960s, right? The type of racing, the type of crowds, the type of events that they had back then. That's the future of drag racing.
And here's Fab Race Mod Repeat, which is Chris Cox out of North Carolina. He works for the Northeast Dragway, right? He works with them. And he's one of the promoters there. He says, promoting isn't easy. No. And here's the thing that people don't realize. You put on a drag race, and your drag race isn't the only thing happening. There's going to be new movies that come out that everybody's going to want to see, right? There's going to be some clown and circus show up that was never even booked anywhere, right? You still got to compete against the fairs. You got to compete against high school football. You got to compete against whatever job you got going on. And if you haven't noticed, you started working more hours since about 2002 to today. You're working more hours per week with less money. And the only reason you're doing that is so you can make ends meet, right? So there's less time for you to go.
Bob Ganshaw saying no prep is cool. I don't think it'll last. Never does. You're wrong. No prep is cool, and no prep is the future. I mean, 100%. No prep is the future. Small tire.
Actually, no prep is the past. That's what they all used to be.
Yeah.
No prep.
No prep is the present, and it's the future. big tire racing is going to go away. Everything is going to be small tire. I don't see the whole big tire thing lasting another 2 years, 3 years. I think a 10.5 is going to be considered a big tire in the not too distant future. And I think you're going to have many more improvised events. There are so many small towns and cities through the whole country that have facilities. They have abandoned industrial parks. They've got abandoned airstrips. They've got roads that aren't used. And I see improvised drag racing events becoming more, and improvised drag strips becoming more and more prevalent as time goes on.
Mopar Den's saying that he now sees the AHR logo on the Medina drag strip website, that they're building that track. Remember, we wore the shirts.
Okay, yeah.
And so that's cool. I'm hoping that thing finally goes through. But Van Little was saying, why did GM turn to the Quadrajet for so many muscle car engines? That was their carburetor. Before that, they had the 4GC Rochester, and it was all right. It was about like it'd be
similar
like
to an AFB.
Right. It'd be very similar to an AFB.
It was actually more similar to a WCFB.
Okay. Well, it's similar to a Carter.
Yeah.
So, but what happened was they tried to split the difference. They wanted fuel economy as well as performance, and that was the thing. So that's why you get the big secondaries and the small little dinky primaries. The small little primaries never really hurt you because you always had them big, huge secondaries. You would get decent mileage, and the throttle response was always fairly decent on a Quadrajet, right? Because the barrels are so small, so your velocity was always high.
$1320 Street Outlaw stuff is badass racing on the Mexican border. That's the future, man. That you are looking at the future of drag racing. Scott James, when a guy can build a 1,400 horsepower car in his garage and compete in a no prep series, people can relate and will be motivated to go watch no prep, back half track racing. But not only that, they'll be motivated to go and do it, right? Because you don't really need the 1,400 horsepower car. Yes, the 1,400 horsepower car does have a distinct advantage in a no prep situation, in any situation, but you don't need the 1,400 horsepower to compete with him. You know, you actually stand a chance at 800 horsepower. So
if you really want to see how that works, maybe that's what we should do next year, is take a trip. I have a track up in Ohio, it's KD Dragway, right? And they have an event there called Midnight Madness, and it's like one of the biggest things in all the country, right? And I mean, there's people towing from all over the world all over the United States to this thing, easy. And but it is nothing but that. It's 100% that. And nobody cares about the numbers that you make at the dyno, because the number is, you know, either win or you lost. But it is going back to its roots. It's going back to grassroots. And, you know, unfortunately, if you got a lot of money in the program, you're probably going to get kicked to the curb here soon, right? Like, now I'm not talking about your car. I'm talking about if you got a big track with a lot of overhead, these guys are going to be kicking you to the curb. No one was going to pay $8,500 for a rental day when they could go to the local track that's still an 8th mile, and that's what everybody runs anyway, and they can rent the dang thing for $1,500 and test, and they'll get 5 of their friends and go there and do it.
Kenny Wooden says big tire no prep cars are 3,000 plus horsepower. Yeah, but I think that honestly, I think the days of the big tire cars are numbered. I really do. Nobody really cares, right? So that's the thing. You got to look at what people care about. You know, what brings the crowds. What do people talk about? People don't talk about what the big, unless they see it on TV, unless it's what Big Chief is doing or any of these other cars. Nobody really cares what the big tire cars do. The small tire cars have the interest of the crowd because you could relate to it. Nobody in the stands and nobody watching this stuff on YouTube has a big tire car except big tire races, but everybody's got, you know, the ability to build, you know, a small tire car, race a small tire car. A small tire car looks like your hot rod. It goes back to the roots of all this. You know, people want to see, like Funny Car. Funny Car became popular because people identified. It's like, yeah, all right, I don't have a blown nitro thing in my 66 Mustang, right?
But you have a 66 Mustang that looks the same.
Right. So big tire doesn't have that same, it doesn't translate the same way. And as money gets tighter, as costs go up, and all of these other things, I really believe the whole big tire thing is just the days are numbered.
Wild Rose Garage says I've seen some really quick cars on a 9x30 slick. Mm-hmm. That's what I race. Oh, that's what I have on my T-Bird, and that's the biggest tire I've ever had on it. I originally used to race by 8x26, and then they came out with a class called 8-inch Outlaw, 8.5-inch Outlaw, something like that. And I was like, wow, I've been doing this for at least a decade. So maybe I thought I had something on these guys, and I didn't. I'm not even close. These guys, I thought they were running like, I don't know, 620s on that little 8-inch. No, they're running like 520s, 470s on that little 8-inch tire.
Jake Burns says, literally, my toilet blew up. Crazy floods in my town.
Bruce W., a big tire car is what they used to refer to as a back half car, right? Or a tube chassis car. Kind of like, think of like a 1980s Pro Stock, except for it's big Chiefs engine in there.
If you want to go with a more accurate, anything with a tire bigger than 10-inch, 10.5-inch wide would be considered big tire.
Yeah, that's the number that they go by. It's 10 and greater than 10.5 inches. Maybe that's what we should have is a no prep event on donut spares.
Doug Dunn says, old rodder always said narrow tire has more weight of the car on it. That's true to an extent. But
here's one thing that people don't take into consideration when you do a small tire. The rotational mass of that tire is considerably less than that big tire, right? And I mean, like when you go to a small, like lightweight aluminum wheel and you pick up a whole bunch just from going to that aluminum wheel, imagine what would happen if you went from that big tire to that half that size tire.
Charlotte Quillen is saying Joe Sherman ran 9s on 9-inch Nova.
My car runs 950s.
You've got guys running fast. The FAST classes, and they're running 9s on polyglasses.
On bias ply.
On bias ply 7-inch wide polyglasses with no power adders and cast iron exhaust manifolds. So, I mean, Abel D. UT Dallas, by the way of the world's direction, racing like they do in Cuba will be more popular by a mass audience. So I have a friend of mine, Brian Lones. He's actually an NHRA announcer, and I know he cringes every time I say anything anti-NHRA. I'm sorry, Brian. I love you. You know that. But we did about 10 years ago. We did a thing in for not Dragzine. Bangshift.com.
That was his,
yeah, and it was about post-apocalyptic drag racing. See, so I mean, all this stuff that's happening right now, this is all old to me, believe it or not. All of this stuff, inflation and pandemics and blah 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 blah. This is all really old to me because I saw this coming many years ago, and I made all my preparations back in the 1990s. So this is just like whatever. So, but anyway, about 10 years ago, we did a thing called post-apocalyptic drag racing, based on my feelings that the world is going to change. Teotihuacan, the end of the world as we know it, and most of the things that are available and taken for granted today aren't going to exist after Teotihuacan. But the urge to hot rod, the need to hot rod, and the inherent need to race, to be competitive is never going to go away. So people are going to hot rod, and what are they going to hot rod? They're going to hot rod stuff that they can fabricate, that they can work with in their garage with a minimum of aftermarket parts and tools and stuff that they can put their hands on, and it'll be much like Cuba. And that's actually one of the overriding themes of this channel. If you read between the lines of this channel and the things that I do, this is post-apocalyptic hot rodding. Nothing we do on this channel will change, after like the shit can hit the fan, everything could just like completely, come apart, come unglued at the seams, and everything here in this Uncle Tony's Garage world would stay exactly the same.
That's what would happen at my house. Like, oh crap! Now the world's on fire. I got to go put it out, and then I got to get back to work.
Right.
So Charlotte Quillen is saying that Jungle Jim hated the NHRA. Hate him. There was a lot of fun car racers that actually hate him.
I don't know if he hated them. I think he was completely indifferent towards them. I mean, he ran NHRA events. He only won the one at Englishtown in 1875 against Al Segrini. I think Al Segrini was in the line.
He was more of less a he liked to do the match racing because that's where the money was at.
Lieberman was a businessman, right? And people don't understand that. Lieberman was not a racer. He was a businessman, and he put his stuff out there to make money, right? He ran match races. He ran national events in the name of exposure and because sponsors wanted that. So Revell wants you to make appearances.
It gave him leverage to get more money for match races.
Right. But Lieberman's thing was match racing. You know, he didn't win, lose, or draw. It didn't make any difference. And that's why his program was built around really long burnouts, doing U-turns in the middle of the track. Jungle Pam, fire burnouts. Because he was a racer, but he was a businessman first. He didn't really care if he won or not. That was incidental. He was there to get paid.
Bill Wolf has asked me if I'm going to PRI or are you going to PRI? I'm not. I'll tell you what, like I was looking at it this year and there's like half of the regular vendors aren't going to be there. And there's this thing, if you've never been to PRI, they call it the PRI flu, right? And you get sick as crap like a week after being at PRI. And that was without COVID and all other crap going on, right? So, this year I'm going to skip.
Yeah, I went once, and that was 20-something years ago. I have no interest in anything any of those freaking people have to say or show or do.
The AHRA room needs a Christmas tree. We probably do. I actually tried to get a chrome deck. I found a guy who had a chrome deck because I'm not going to put just a Christmas tree in here. It's got to be a freaking legit chrome deck tree, right? And if you don't know what a chrome deck tree is, it doesn't have 3 ambers. So I thought that would be pretty awesome as a chrome deck tree, wouldn't it?
5 ambers, man. Oh, real trees have 5 ambers.
Yeah, that'd be like right here. Like put that sucker right here or over in the corner. Over here with miniature Dallas. But I was thinking, grassroots racing. How many of you would do some grassroots racing if we were really going to have a grassroots drag race?
Joe K. Joe K says, if things get bad enough or continue on the current path, survival and maintenance will be the first priority over things of leisure like racing.
Yes.
I agree with you 100%.
Racing always been the first thing kicked to the curb.
I agree 100%. And get bad enough, you ain't seen nothing yet. I mean, really, you ain't seen nothing yet. But here's the thing, okay? It's going to get bad. It's going to get ridiculous. Okay, it's in the process now of becoming a monster that's going to eat the world as you know it, right? That may not necessarily be a bad thing. And you're going to have a period of time, probably 2, 3, 4 years, where you've got hyperinflation, you've got the whole black market thing happening where you've got to know somebody to get this and get that, like it is in most of the world. But at the end of the day, right, the way you got to look at it is 2 things are never going to change. They're never going to change, okay? The first is the sun is going to come up and the sun is going to go down, okay? So every day is a new day, right? And nature does not give a fuck about what happens to our economy or anything like that. So the world will keep going, right? And the other thing that's not going to change is testosterone, right? Testosterone. As long as there's a little bit of testosterone in you, you have a need to compete. And sometimes competing is in the form of actually drag racing, and sometimes competing is a matter of having a better skill than the next guy or whatever. But we compete with cars, and we compete in all different ways. We compete with who's got a better paint job, who's got a better this, who's got a better that, who's got a faster this or faster that. So no matter how you look at it, the man's need to screw around with machinery is not going to go anywhere. And because we're all gearheads, right? We're all mechanics. We love machinery. We work with machinery. We understand machinery. When everything goes to shit, We go right to the top of the food chain because somebody's got to keep everything running. Somebody's got to fucking learn how to bypass, somebody's got to be able to bypass this module to get that to function and blah, 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 blah. Bro, if you've got tools and skills and a desire to work on stuff, you go immediately to the very top of the food chain. So it's bad, but it's good. Every bad situation has its opportunities, and we as car people are right there to seize the biggest opportunities of the deal. Does that make sense?
It does. But I'm saying this from the beginning. It's the technically savvy person, right? The carpenter, the bricklayer, the car builder, right? Your hobbyist hot rodder. They're going to be the ones there to pick up the pieces because you're the ones that know how to do shit, right? When you think about it like this, you can go out and save the world with your EV. If you got no outlet to freaking plug it into, how good is that, right? So that's how people need to look at stuff like that. You go to a guy's house and he's got an EV. He wants you to put an outlet in, no problem. $975 an hour. That's what I work for, buddy.
Zippo Andolini. I love that name, Zippo. That's awesome. It will never get to that point, Tony. Zippo, listen. No, I'm in precious metals. I've been for decades. Okay, so I pay very close attention to the sort of thing that underlines the foundation of all of this stuff. Here's a fact. Here's a fact. 40% of all of the dollars in existence today were created in the last 12 months. Okay, wrap your head around that now, right? 40% of all of the dollars currently in existence on the planet were created in the last 12 months. All right, so wrap your head around that. Think about those numbers. Think about the implications of that, and then you'll see where this is going. Fastang 85, I bought some silver lately. Good for you. Everybody should be buying silver. You should go out and get as much silver as you possibly can right now. Like literally right now. It's on sale.
It's not really on sale.
Oh, no, it's on sale.
Did it take a dip?
Yeah, it's like $22 right now.
Oh, really?
But the premium on Eagles is like $9. I remember buying Eagles way back when, and they had like a 50-cent premium on them. The premium on an Eagle is $9. So right now, if you were to go out, so silver is at 22 and change. I don't even know what the number was today. It's like $22, right? You're gonna spend $31. You're gonna spend $31 for a silver Eagle right now. So yeah, no, so buy it while you can. Seriously, go out there tomorrow and just buy as much as you can. Charlotte calling, if any of your food consumed is encased in plastic, you've been flooded with BPA, synthetic estrogen. Yeah, that's part of it. The biggest part of it, though, is the soy. Everything. The soy is the additive that they put in every type of meat that there is. Unfermented soy. It's knocked testosterone levels down tremendously over the last couple of generations. I don't know. I mean, I seem to escape it. He seemed to escape it. We all seem to escape it. You know what I mean? But that's if you want to know why there are so many people who are just like weird and soft and everything else, it's because of the soy. Thank you, sir.
Or they've just been brought up soft.
That too.
I think that's what it was. I mean, there was nobody who made it easy for me, right? Like, I remember my old man said, hey, you're 16, cool. If you want to drive, you're going to have to buy a fucking car. Okay.
Mopar Den sent $10. Thank you, Mopar Den. Some cash to help hoard parts. I've been hoarding since the beginning of the year and already have some parts that are getting harder to find and or have gone up in price. Good man. That's the other thing too. If you can't buy silver, buy car parts.
That's why I like my Buicks. You know why? Because it's like 1 out of every 10 car people, if that, are Buick guys. There's going to be Buick parts for decades. Decades.
Arthur Fiddler, I bought gold and lost a lot of money. I keep waiting, but it just never recovers. It is the only thing that I could have bought last year that lost money besides silver. You only lose it when you sell it. You only lose money when you sell it. right? You don't buy gold or silver to play it like a commodity. It's not a commodity. It's listed and traded as a commodity, and paper metals are completely different than the real thing. So you only lost money because you sold. That's why you lost money.
Mopar Al says, "Good evening from Woodbury."
Oh, it's Al Castillo.
Well, did you know that Forrest Pitcock lived over there?
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Well, did you know that I've already set up an interview with Forrest Pitcock?
I would like
would you like to? Okay, well, we'll do it out here then. But I got to bring his son along because Forrest is going to be like 90 or 92.
Is he really?
Yeah, and he hasn't lost his marbles yet, but he's starting to lose like some of his memory.
I would love to meet him. That would be fun.
Okay.
That would be fun.
Well, we'll try to do it out here then.
Let's see. Doug Gid, don't sell your money. It's granddaddy's rule. Yep. Kingsman Racing Division. Does an HO302 sound different than a non-HO?
Not really.
They made a firing order swap in 85?
85, yeah.
85. So okay. So think of it this way, right? A carbureted HO motor, which would be 302, HO motor, which would be 85 and earlier, would sound different than a later HO motor, 86 and newer. They would have a completely different exhaust note. So that might be what you're...
SFP Nostalgia Motorsports says, what's the status of my 63 Buick? Well, you can easily find out by tuning into Mr. Rodder's Neighborhood. And I do an episode every day, and I'm working on all kinds of stuff. And it just so happens some of it's 63 Buick related. So right now we're just working on the motor. Wayne Buzzle's asking me if I've ever owned or worked on a W-body 99 GS Buick. No, I have not. And I probably won't. I'm sorry, Wayne.
What's going on, Bad Tree? How you doing, brother man? Greg McDonald's Black Friday was the first Black Friday ever. And yet more Americans still broke records buying guns and ammo. Yeah, traffic was up and sales were down.
I don't go out on Black Friday.
I
don't participate in none of that crap. It's like, oh yeah. So you think Black Friday you're saving a whole bunch of money when it's regularly throughout the year $899.99, and then Black Friday it's for sale for $899.99, marked down from $1,099. No.
Dakota's timeout. Tony, what do you think about cryptocurrency? Dakota, I'm glad you asked about that. Here's my take on crypto. Okay, I know this is supposed to be car tech. But
man, we're getting off on all kinds of tangents.
Well, we're supposed to be talking about cars, but this is also something that affects all of us, right? So it's like I guess we can go into a little bit, right? Dakota, here's my take on crypto, right? Crypto is a positive because it's a non-centralized currency, and it is a currency, and it's a viable currency. I myself don't get involved in crypto because for my investment purposes, I only invest in tangible goods. I don't make paper investments. And I also don't make digital investments. Now, as a currency, if you only consider Bitcoin or any of them, right, Ethereum, any of the cryptocurrencies, if you only think of them as a currency, right, to perhaps get around issues that are going to occur in the dollar denominated economy, then crypto is a very good thing. If you're looking at crypto as any sort of store of value, and that's the important thing now, right? If you're looking at crypto as a store of value, don't touch it. Don't go anywhere near it. If you have the time and the patience to speculate and you're a chartist, you understand charts, you understand Fibonacci, and you understand Kondratiev, and you understand all of these things, all of these concepts, then yeah, crypto could be a way to make a lot of money in a short period of time.
So here's my take on crypto. Okay. And crypto, and it may sound very cryptic, but it's 100% my take. When I first joined the United States Navy in 1994, all of our publications were paper, right? And somewhere along the lines, about 2005 or 6, some asshat that worked for the federal government realized that they save a shitload of money by not printing them out, and they just made up a PDF file. And then they put them on board the ships as a PDF file. So now here you are on a ship, and something breaks, and you break out the PDF file, and you open it up, and you find what's wrong, and you repair it, right? All well and good. But no one took into consideration that when you go to war, if your ship hits a mine and it has no power, how the fuck do you look up the manual information, right? So accessibility becomes the key to this, right? And that's cryptocurrency's biggest problem, is that cryptocurrency in an accessibility form sucks ass. Because let's look at it like this. Say we're all, we all go Mad Max tomorrow, right? Well, that means there's probably not going to be an internet, not that one that you could use, right? And that nobody cares about your cryptocurrency because you can't buy crap with it because it's stuck on the internet, right? When you don't have access to it, it's not accessible. You might as well just write it off. Now, while everything is still operating and going well, you have access to it. It's perfect, right? Works great. But in theory, you could lose it all within the blink of an eye, right? Power goes out, the whole world gets EMP'd, whatever you want to call it. You lose your money. That's how I look at it. I'm sorry for the rant.
No, you're completely accurate. Yeah, crypto can be a good way to make money. There's no question about it. I'm not down on crypto at all. I don't get involved with it because I guess it's just not my cup of tea. I don't have the time to speculate. Like some people do mine, some people mine it. I have too many other things going on to really pay attention to the market and trade the market. And I just do it, go for it, but just don't consider it a store of value. You can make a lot with crypto. Take your profits from crypto and buy metals with it.
Or tangible product.
Right, exactly. If you make 10 grand with crypto, take your profit off the table and put it into some sort of tangible asset. To put it into gold or silver, put it into cars, put it into your vintage cars, repairable cars.
Put it in tools. No idea. Tools will make you money forever.
Right. So play the crypto market, have fun with it, mine it, trade it, do everything with it, profit off of it while there is profit to be made on it. But take your profits off the table as they come in. Take your profits off the table and invest them in tangible, hard goods. Need metal. Do you think a cast crank is more of a liability in a straight six where it's longer and without the balancing forces of opposing cylinders? That's something I really got to think about. On a slant six, yes, right? Because a slant six only has 4 main bearings. So there's a lot of potential wonkiness, right? Even a bad tune-up, an uneven tune-up, will cause all kinds of craziness inside a slant six. On a Ford, Chevy, AMC that has 7 main bearings, no, I don't see it being a problem at all. But on a Chrysler motor, yes, a Chrysler motor is definitely going to be, slant six is definitely going to be more susceptible as a cast crank.
Look at Joseph Giannini here. Says one of the founders of Bitcoin died with a chip on him with 22 million on it. Well, I guess that's fortunate that our government didn't have to print out $22 million.
Wheelie King. I feel it isn't going to be a huge amount of time before the only foolproof investment is dirt. I'm with you. I mean,
ground. Yeah. Property.
Yeah. You know, one of the things, money is so misunderstood. Okay, because there's a difference between currency, right, which is what we used to trade, and money. And money is not necessarily currency. Money is a store of value. But most importantly is that money is a proxy for real estate. Money is a proxy for land.
Right.
Right. So that's they deliberately cloud the definitions of certain things, the purposes of certain things.
Okay, Mr. Will.
Well, thank you, Mr. Will. Tony, are all steel cranks all forged? Like in my '69 Charger, what is it?
A '69 Charger would be a steel crank, right?
Well,
but I don't know if they're forged steel, are they?
Yeah. Yep.
Are all steel cranks forged steel?
No, this cast steel.
Well, and Tony gives me crap about it because all the Buicks are Arma steel cranks, which is a cast virtually a steel.
Right. Now, all of the 1969 Chrysler motors would have a forged steel crank. All of them, 100% of them across the board. There wasn't any cast crank motors until 1970 is when they started with the cast crank motors. But yeah, if you got a 1969 Chrysler motor, it doesn't matter what it is, it's got a forged steel crank in it.
Even my 63. I was thinking about this today. That 63 special I'm putting together it has a cast crank in it, right? And here I'm going to go dump the clutch at $3, $4, $5 grand. That's pretty atrocious on a crank that would be cast, right? I'm hoping it holds together.
Let's see. Stefan Paul says CAD, Olds, Buick are all Arma steel.
Oh, that's cool. Nailheads were actually forged steel cranks.
The problem was with the rods, right? It's the cranks were an issue, but the Pontiac Arma steel rods, that was.
Buick's got forged rods.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Did the Pontiacs break the rods a lot or kick them out?
Yep.
Oldsmobile used nodular iron. I know the Buick cranks are actually cast into them. It says Arma steel on the crank, which is kind of cool.
Okay, what about fuels? We need to be able to store or have access to fuels. You will have access to fuels. Don't stress it.
That won't be a problem.
That won't be a problem.
Charlotte Quillen says Joe Sherman ran cast cranks up to 9,500 RPM. I can believe that.
Yeah, as long as you're not getting any type of detonation, that's the issue, man. Detonation is what kills cast cranks.
Is nodular iron at least able to handle the shock of a manual transmission?
Yes. Yeah, hence the nodular iron center sections, the 9-inch center sections.
Why so confident about fuel supply? Because there's going to be cars everywhere that people can't drive. Because
the truth about oil, the simple truth about oil is that there's more oil. The oil is the second most abundant liquid on Earth. If you pump a well dry, you go back 20 or 30 years later, it's full again, right? Water is the most abundant. Oil is the second most abundant liquid on Earth. Don't stress it. And if for some reason all the oil was to suddenly disappear tomorrow, you know how many things we have? You know how many ways we can make alcohol and propane, and there's so many different ways we could fuel our stuff.
Bauxite is the most plentiful ore. That's what aluminum is made out of.
Yeah, Francis Antonio. If they solve the hydrogen problem, it's the most abundant. Yeah, hydrogen, right? Yeah,
well,
don't stress.
Solve the hydrogen problem. Well, it's easy to get. No, do you know how easy it is to make water into hydrogen?
But to do it in a mass enough scale where it can be used effectively in an internal combustion engine.
Oh, you would need a ton of it for use it in an engine.
Right, that's the problem.
Yes, bauxite is aluminum. Yes, the world sweats oil. I don't think it's going away. I don't think that
No.
we're ever going to reach the bottom of it. And all they did was create a market to where they could pretty much manipulate the price of it. Well, FUBAR just put up Mr. Rotter's neighborhood link. I know a guy over there.
Do you?
I do.
Get me his autograph.
I heard he was an asshole. But yeah, after we talked about it, I really think that that's true. When we talked about it, a couple of weeks ago, I think it's pretty much true that the whole world is made up of this stuff, and it's pretty much as long as there's living beings on here, it's going to continue to just appear. Right?
Where there's a will, there's a way. That's the bottom line. Where there's a will, there's a way.
There you go. What is it? What does that say? Doug Gidd said, "We'll just drag race multi-fuel deuce and a halves." Have you ever seen those things? You can literally. We used to try find something that you could put in there that it wouldn't run on, right? And it's got to be like a burnable liquid,
right?
You don't just pee in it, right? But we would put like WD-40. That sucker just go. It would go. They would run on anything.
Melt down all this plastic trash. The Hit and Miss Nationals. I would go to that. See, that's a race I would travel to go see. Did you see the video of the guy? Somebody brought it up in one of the last lives that we did. There's a guy that put a 1900 something Hit and Miss motor on a pickup truck.
Oh no!
And he drives it around. It's his giant Hit and Miss motor under the hood of his pickup truck.
So it's like as big as like a V16 or
it goes like 16 miles an hour. I mean, but he drives
it's got
it around.
this huge flywheel on it.
Yeah. Yeah, BS Custom was saying there's a dude that put a Hit and Miss in an old, I think it's either an International or a Studebaker pickup truck. Yeah, that's what I was just talking about. Chris Lazima, is the Harley 61 XLCH working? Yeah, I got the lights work. I get the generator and the regulator all good. So now all the lights work, the brake light works, and all. It starts like on the second kick, and now I'm figuring what to do with the tank now.
Joe K says, "Bring on the apocalypse. Hit and Miss will reign supreme." And I don't doubt that. I just what I think is neat is that I'll literally just go into lockdown in my house, and then I could virtually just live there with nothing else. Right? Like I don't have to have, I got a running river, like right less than a half mile, right? Running river. I think the only thing I need is a wood stove. That's the only thing that's left. Wood stove.
French onion headlights says you don't need to debate Greta Thunberg. I don't waste my time talking to people who don't have realistic grasp on life and nature and economy. Brian Power says you should look up the precursor to the diesel, which is the hot bulb engine. Yeah, well, a lot of those Hit and Miss motors are hot bulb. I know all about hot bulb motors.
Tony is rad. Guy on the left is mad.
Is that nice?
I'm mad.
He's not mad. He's Mr. Rotter.
See, Dakota's timeout. He says he's still thinking about my idea about donut outlaws.
Which one was that?
The no prep on a donut spares.
They're freewheeling nationals.
That's the ultimate equalizer right there. 30 horsepower versus 300 versus 3,000.
Bruce W. I just put a 9 horsepower go-kart together. It's a blast. I love little engines. Yeah, here's a BS Customs really small tire. Terry Littlejohn. Terry's got a Slant 6 race car. Saw the video of the bearing damage along with the baffles to control oil in the sump. Try a larger pickup tube. I went to a 1/2 inch diameter, improved suction. Help me. Do you have a deeper than stock sump?
Oh, hey, I forgot I was going to bring you one. I have one.
You have one more?
I have a sump off of a 302 Ford race oil pan.
Okay.
And I cut it off, and I was going to use it on a Buick, but it's too big.
How deep is it?
Oh, I'd like to get like 6 or 8 inches.
All right, because I only need like 3.
You're going to get 8.
Okay.
Or whatever it is, 6.
That works for me.
Will it hang down below the car?
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, that'll be perfect. Then you just need to make a pickup tube, right?
Yeah. Well, just extend the one.
With Zippo Indolini, Dallas, can I use the, what does it say, the clutch? The clutch pedal set up from a Chevelle and a Skylark. Yes. Yep, they're interchangeable.
Cement Surfer, UTG will slant move my 72 B200 Dodge Maxi van? Not very well. I mean,
Isn't that a 3/4 ton van?
Yeah, you're talking about full throttle, man, just to keep up with traffic. Not good. Not good. Spare parts pulling team. What's the best way to run a tack on a Vertex mag internal coil? I tried a Hunt adapter. It doesn't work. I don't know. Do you know?
Hold on. A Vertex mag? That's like a Joe Hunt.
Yeah. Well, right? like mag like you had in a Buick.
Yeah. I just ran it off the negative side of the coil. Where you kill it.
Okay.
That's it. You just plug it right on there. You take the green wire right off the tack, and you run it right to the negative side of that coil, which is where you kill it.
There you go.
You don't do anything special. Uncle Tony in Dallas, is there aftermarket 400 small block Chevy blocks that aren't outrageously expensive? Yeah, I saw one not too long ago. Speedmaster. Wasn't that what it was? Where they had the cylinder bores were like off center, like by an inch. You couldn't even take it to the machine shop. So there you go. But not that I know of. So I've been looking for, we were talking about doing our super secret New Year's Eve thing.
Yeah, that's possible.
Yeah, has nobody's talked about it yet, and I don't really want to spill the beans, but there is a super secret New Year's Eve Uncle Tony's Garage program in the works.
Yeah, we may have something fun for New Year's Eve.
But I got offered at 283, and I almost cried because I'm like, no, I can't do that to 283.
No, I couldn't blow up 283. Let's see.
Well, we didn't tell you what it was, Charlotte. John Boomer says it's going down. I talked to him the other day, and he was like laughing. He was laughing a lot.
Watch the puddle of vomit dry video. Hey, of course.
John Woodburn saying use a V6. Yeah, but when you have a V8, you got it 20% more.
Travis, right? Uncle Tony, I told my daughter about the plate, and she is very excited. She wanted to know if you could sign the back of it. I would love to. We'll throw some stickers in there too. Bruce W. Tony, have you seen that you can use late model truck A500 transpan on an old 904? Yes, I know all about that. Freddie left you. Good evening. Good evening, Freddie. Can you explain the benefits of a basic Chevy 305?
The benefits of it? Oh, man. Well, one, it has a lot of meat in the block because the bore is really small.
Yeah, but how thick can you?
You can't take them way over because they don't have a sleeve that goes out very far.
Right.
Because it was a thin wall casting small block Chevy.
And I know the heads as they come, the bowl is the size is large enough for the bigger valves, but it's cut for the small valves. So you can't even really do any effective porting on them without increasing the size of the valves. the 305 is it's a driver motor.
It is a perfect driver motor because you can dip into the small block Chevy inventory and get all the parts for like peanuts.
Right.
And then the thing doesn't use a lot of gas. I mean, if you look at like 1990, or well, I'm sorry, it was like, 89 to 93, I think. Those Caprice bubbly ones. Those things with the 305 Chevy would get like 22, 23 miles to the gallon routinely.
Henry Frick, did you buy a welder with gas yet? No, and I never will. I'm a flux core guy. I am flux to the end. I used to be all oxyacetylene, and then gas got hard to find and expensive, and I'm done with that. And I switched over to flux core, and you could give me any. No, I have no interest in anything but flux core. I like flux core. I put a roll in. It does its job. I don't have to worry about the gas regulating, and I don't have to worry. I can go outside. The wind is blowing. And no, I don't need to deal with any of that shit. I'll embrace and love all the splatter I can get. I am flux core for life.
I see, and Danny Boyd saying 307 is better than 305, and I agree with that. I like the 307.
The 307 is a very underrated motor.
So I just saw one. Somebody built one for racing or for dyno purposes, all out application.
Okay.
Made 500 horse with a 307.
I believe it.
500.
I believe it.
Because he says, look, if a 283 could run good, the 307 would run good. It's the same dang bore.
Yep.
So, yeah, I thought that was kind of cool. I already told you my idea. I would really like to build like a cheap small block Chevy with Vortex heads on it. Like a 302, like a 283, 302 kind of deal.
Mo Pommy 1978. Tony should get a mini bike and build a sidecar for him and his wife Kathy go for rides or pick up auto parts. There are small Hondas in this channel's future. Maybe not this year coming, but soon.
I think we should do something even more different than that. More different, Tony.
What's more different than that?
I think we should find some of the oddball stuff, right? Like, okay, you know how the 3800 Buick, everybody says, oh man, what a great motor. You know, they made a 3100 Buick.
Okay.
Right? They also made a 3300 Buick. And they did this by changing the bore and stroke on each one, right? Well, you can mix and match and swap those cranks around, and then we could come up with a 2.8 liter Buick. We put a turbo on it, right?
Yeah, that's not the same as like a Honda Trail.
Yeah, but I'd be running down the road probably 40 miles to the gallon for cheap.
Okay, no, yeah, hyper mileage stuff. We definitely want to start looking at hyper mileage shit too. Sixth game. In my humble opinion, metals are corrupted and manipulated. Yes, they are, and that's why you need to take advantage of it now, because they are corrupted and manipulated. Exactly.
In 2013, there was a guy on one of my ships. He had bought like years worth of palladium. I'd never heard of this shit, and it was a metal that was traded on the metals market, but it was the only one he could afford. And he bought it for years and years and years. Well, then one day they found out you could use palladium in a computer instead of gold.
Right.
And this dude's like a freaking bajillionaire overnight. He just like woke up one day, hey, I quit the Navy. See you later. Right. And we're like, oh, okay. How are you going to make a living? Oh, I'm fucking multi-millionaire now.
Somebody surfer prepper shopping list, Briggs and Stratton powered mini bikes.
I don't doubt that. That's a way to go right there.
Seriously, and you can make those things legal. You can make them street legal.
You know what? That's what we should probably do. Because not a Predator motor, but a Briggs, a true Briggs, right?
Okay.
Because they were so simple. I mean, they used to be on every street corner you could get a Briggs.
It's not like that anymore, but the Predators are so freaking cheap. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know.
You go right now, Harbor Freight, and buy a brand new Predator for like $175. Just put it in, pull it and go. Don Wayne English saying the doomsday clock is 100 minutes to midnight. Gary Lilly, no, you can't. Anything over 50 cc's has to have insurance. So you write 50cc on the side, or you write 49cc
49
on the side of the motor.
Isn't that what the Japanese did with the scooters?
Yeah. You think a cop is going to pull you over and actually like pump your motor to find what the displacement
Hold on a
of
second
it is?
here. I got my air pump. Well, I got my P&G right here.
Right, yeah. Everybody pop that head off so I can measure the bore of the stroke. Yeah, no, don't stress it, man. You write 49.9cc on it and go down the road and don't worry about it.
So Bruce W says my 9 horsepower go-kart with a CVT belt transmission. Really cool, works great, gets rid of the centrifugal clutch.
Roadster Lakester with a slant 6. I think that's been done.
See, I wanted to do something like that with that 215. I really wanted to do a lightweight little T-bucket with that 215 and a T5 and make it completely just manual, right? Everything manual on it. I'll bet you it could get, because see, those 215s in those cars would get 28, 29 miles to the gallon.
Yeah.
Right? I don't see why I couldn't do 30 plus with a T-bucket.
Try it. Build it. It'll pay for itself. One bet AMX. Uncle Tony, sticking with the 81 through 87 cranky. Yes, I am. Well, no, yeah, you don't put a plate on it. You put the sticker 49.9cc and just go.
There
don't
it is,
put a
the plate.
on it.
That's your plate.
Yeah, and if a cop pulls you over, you say, well, according to the sticker here, it's 49cc. And the cop's going to say, well, okay. And that's it. I mean, what's he going to do?
Fast Sting 85 says they used to make a Predator with a Hemi head, but discontinued it. Or discounted it. Probably means discontinued.
Wild Rose Garage saying he ran a T-bucket for a bit with a 400 small block Chevy and a 4-speed and was pure death trap of fun.
The 215 in there would be great. Yeah, everybody wants me to do the Opal. I still think that would be cool too. The Opal GT with a 215 in it.
JK, this is interesting. Predator motors are so cheap, I've been buying 10 every payday. Nice, I like that. Waiting for them to increase in value. Predators will be the new non-cryptocurrency. JK, that is brilliant.
Genius.
Seriously, bro.
Yeah.
That is, okay, people always like, oh, invest in that. What should I invest in? What should I put my money in? Blah, blah, blah. And yeah, precious metals are awesome. That is a brilliant.
Well, I mean, just think, if everything goes sideways, right? Mm-hmm. You're looking at digging a well by hand or a Predator motor with a U-joint on it going drown. You know what I mean? Like, that's what you're looking at. And your Predator motor would be worth whatever people are willing to pay.
No, I think that's brilliant.
Yeah, Doug Norden wants me to do that Opal GT with the Buick 215 so bad. He brings it up every time we have a live. It's hard to find one. There is actually an Opal Cadet wagon for sale right now for $400 on Marketplace. A Cadet wagon.
I've never even seen it. Oh yeah. Okay.
I don't.
It's here in Murfreesboro.
Yeah, it's like not even far from here. I think it's like Tullahoma, which is what,
about 40 miles south of us. Geos, I asked on a Junkyard Jet video, and I think I got buried. But I was wondering if frame connectors would be a good idea on a Dart I'm going to drift slant 6 car. I don't think you're going to be drifting a slant 6 car, man. This slant 6 is not a good candidate to drift.
Well, let's say the engine did make enough power to do that, right? Is he going to need frame connectors? I don't know if it's making it stiff is what's going to make it work well.
Taking turns at 50 is what I mean. Okay. You have two types of frame connectors. One type will work for you. One type is a waste of time. The one type that would work for you in stiffening the car for the type of thing you want to do to it is made by, I know US Car Tool makes them. There might be other companies too. I don't know. But it's a frame connector fits between a front and rear bulkhead like every other frame connector, but it's cut to match the contour of the floor pan. And so it's welded completely into the floor pan of the car. That would help with twisting. That would be a good idea if you're going to try to build something to handle and do crazy stuff like that with. The other type is the type that just bridges the front and the back. And that's only good for straight line acceleration because all you're doing is having the rear bulkhead shove the front bulkhead forward. So there's no benefit to twisting with that. So I hope that answered your question.
Stephanie Paul here says, I have a nice 67 Opel Cadet body shell, Arizona solid here. Throw me an offer.
Oh, Jesus. The problem is how much is it going to cost to go get it?
I don't know. How would we get it delivered? Could we do like the where one person brings it 50 miles and there's another person?
You could do
is
that.
there enough people on here that you guys would be willing to do that to where we meet up with you in like, say, Jackson, Tennessee?
One, two, three. I don't care. Okay, Tony. China rant. You'll never hear me do a China rant because China is a symptom. China is not the problem. Okay. So China is a symptom.
All right. So Billy Bob Holcomb says an Opel Cadet wagon turned sedan delivery would be cool. And then Terry CH says pull a Jay Leno and mate a hot slant to a Tremec TKX.
Oh, Bad Tree Productions has. Scroll back to that. Bad Tree Productions has a do-it-yourself $20 subframe connectors video. Save 200 people. Yeah, well, there you go. So if you're interested in this topic of subframe connectors, go to Bad Tree Productions and check that out.
Oh, the person says they're in Texas. I'm in Texas.
But he just said he was in Arizona.
Oh, no, that was the person that had it with somebody else in Arizona.
Okay.
But he's in Texas. Aaron's willing to pull it through his area of Texas. That would be kind of a cool video, right?
John Wilburn says if you need a stretch through here, he's game. Well, it's coming from Arizona, so
long ways from Virginia.
Yeah, shy of you by about 400 miles.
Oh, wow. Stephanie says it was an Arizona car. It's in Philadelphia now. It's a hatchback. It's blue with black gut.
So what kind of money do you want for it, Stefan?
Said throw an offer out there. I don't know. I haven't seen the car. How does $200 sound?
Well, let him give you an idea.
Yes, cadet relay competition. Maybe that's what we should have. It's like the Uncle Tony's Garage. We'll have it. Let's see. Instead of the cannonball run, let's have the meatball run, right? Start off in New York, get a meatball sub, and then bring that car all the way here.
Mo Pruden says he'll drive it from Philly straight to you. Stefan, how much do you want for that car? One bad AMX. Uncle Tony, ever mess with a clutch flight? Video would be awesome. I have never. I've seen them. I've probably even had one or two and passed through my hands over the years, but I've never actually worked on one or used it.
Joseph Giannini says Tony and Dallas do an AMC Eagle off-road build. That would be kind of cool. Or build off, where we each get to build one.
Oh, geez. How many things am I going to build? So we got lots of people volunteering to move it.
Dakota's timeout saying, or carry the meatball sub with you across the country, and the first one to eat it at the destination wins. After that long haul. Oh, let's see. I'll pull it through Indiana. Whoa, cool. I think it'd be a cool thing to just have a relay like that, like pass the baton relay, 67 cadet relay. And then that would mean I'd have to put the 215 in it, right?
Well, I want to see Stefan. What do you want for this car? How much do you want for the car?
Cement Surfer has a great idea. Put a U-Haul bar on front, and anyone can haul the Opal then.
Well, yeah, but first let's see how much he wants for this thing.
Yeah, she said throw me an offer.
Well, but they have to have it. It's Stefan. It's a guy.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh,
it's not Stephanie. It's Stefan.
Oh, you know this person?
No, but he's been around for a long time.
That would be cool to tow bar it.
Let's see. I'm watching for Stefan to pop up. Logan, I'm interested in building a muscle car for fuel economy as well in the future. What are some of the latest, most aerodynamic 60s, 70s cars? 65 Barracuda. That back window makes it very unaerodynamic. But
the Dart of that year would be lightweight.
We're going to do a lot. I don't want to talk about too much of that right now. We're gonna do a lot of that sort of thing as we go. We got a lot of good reaction on that video, so I am going to pursue that more.
You should do that on Mrs. Landy.
Yes, Mrs. Landy is a possible.
Is she a 3 on the tree car?
No, but she would be.
Did they ever make a 4 on the tree?
No, but you could do that.
Is that Stefan right there?
Yeah. Wasn't there a gold cadet coupe on Memphis Marketplace a couple of days ago? I would like 3,500 for it.
Oh, that's way out of my price range.
Yeah, there
was $400
right out of Dallas's price range.
There was one for $400 here. That's why I offered 2. I didn't know what you wanted.
Okay, Wild Rose Garage is saying Ford had a 4-speed column shift. Did they? What year was that? And how did they work that out? I imagine it was an H pattern. Where was reverse on that?
Oh, Fubar just put up the link to the AHRA online. So go there and get yourself some merch so we can try to get this car hauled across the country if we could afford $3,500. I still think we should do that, though, is like a relay a car for an event. Like bring it from like Washington State to the tip of, like say like Miami, Florida or something.
Stefan is saying, to its credit, it is complete and very clean. I'm flexible. Well,
I just that's way outside of my price range. I go for cheap stuff and I don't have the extra cash. Most of my money goes into AHRA.
So I want to know about this. Okay, Charlotte's saying 4, just like a 4 and a 4 pattern. But what year, what model, what engine had 4 on the tree? Ford.
This is a 69 Opel GT in Peoria, Illinois for $2,500. Man, guys, look, my price range is like $200 to $400.
Well, that's a GT.
Yeah, and it's in Peoria, Illinois, which like if I brought it home and it started snowing, it would rust in half before I even got here. I'm from there. I don't work on shit from there for a reason.
CR, will a build-off possibly happen between the Engine Masters Roadkill guys versus UTG and his team? Not a chance. I am done with those asshats.
I'm game. What are we building?
Dallas will do something with them.
What are we building? And what's the whole goal?
Gary Lilly, those old Opel GTs were miniature-looking Corvettes. They were beautiful.
Yep, and that's why I want to put a miniature-looking 215 V8 in it.
Wild Rose Garage, Tony, early 60s Fairlane had the 4-speed column shift. Wild Rose, I don't think that's right.
Bad Tree Productions, I'm down. Let's do it.
I think somebody, I know there was a guy on Staten Island that had a Pontiac that he had 4 on the tree. And what he did was it was a regular 3 on the tree column and linkage, and he had another separate little handle on the floor of the car to engage reverse. So that I've seen. That wasn't completely unheard of back in the day. But I've never seen a factory 4 on the tree.
Here's the pat on the back for you for today. Cameron Covington says they're still talking about flipping pistons, so you live in their head rent free.
I know. Please, I know all about it.
I still think it's like, all right. Oh man. Well, if they ever come up with something pseudo original, then maybe we'll poke holes in it. But I'm not holding my breath.
Mopar Colt. I have a 71 Dart and I'm debating getting EFI. What's your opinion on EFI versus carburetor? I am aftermarket EFI. I'm not down on EFI. I'm down on aftermarket EFI. I think you're pissing in the wind and you have better than a 50-50 chance of having problems with it. Learn the carburetor. Love the carburetor. Use the carburetor. Danny Boyd says, 4 on a Tree came in International Harvester medium-duty cab overs in the 1960s. I didn't know that. Okay, Gary Lilly, Googled it. Okay, 1961 Fairlane 390,
40,001 horsepower.
I have no idea. Oh, God, I gotta look this up.
You know that the Fairlane doesn't have 40,001 horsepower.
No, I know it doesn't have 40,000 horsepower, but I want to know if that's the car that actually had it. I'm going to look this up. Okay. New tab. Let's see.
Oh, he says 401 horsepower.
4-speed.
401 horsepower.
On the column. Oh, it was the first thing to come up. 1961 4-speed on the column. What car had 4-speed on the column? All right. That's not factory. Was there ever a 4 on the Tree?
Man, did I really bring something up tonight, huh?
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's not. Yeah, it's either a one-off factory thing or something that somebody cobbled together.
That's it.
But yeah, no, there was never a factory 4 on the Tree.
We got to try to put a semi-truck transmission in a car and then put a 16 on the column.
16, right? You do your first 8 gears and you twist it and you go another. Yeah.
And then you got the 2-speed rear end lever.
Yeah.
So now these guys are geeking out. They're understanding what I was talking about with the Opel with the 215. Really digging it, like the Daytona Coupe. I think it would be cool. It would be like, in my mind, I kind of picture it as like Sunbeam Tigerish, right? It's that kind of. It would be around that era. I don't know.
Or you could do it off a kit car. There are so many different kit cars that are like that. You can do it off a Cobra kit car.
Right, but the Opel GT, I mean, what were they known for besides being rusty?
Rusty, that's the problem. Anything you're going to get a good deal on is going to just be a rot bucket.
This wagon looks clean. The problem is, if I ever needed a part, I mean, think of when was the last time you saw a cadet wagon?
Right.
So, like, I need a windshield. Okay, good luck.
Geos, there was a Saab in the 60s or 70s that had a 4 in a column. Aging Wheels did a video. I could believe the Saab, but I mean, it's domestic, American cars. I can't imagine that ever happened. It would be more difficult to make a 4 on the. It would be more expensive and difficult to do 4 in a column than on the floor.
Look, Bad Tree Production just said it has 66 Cornet slant, 3 on the tree, used to drag and hit 19s, 17s, 18s is the goal.
But, man, that's the fun. Okay, yeah. Honestly, it's just as much fun getting a 19-second car to run like, deep into 18s or tickle the 17s as it is to go from a 12-second car and trying to get a 10-second time slip out of it. It's just as much fun. It's just as much of a challenge. It's a lot cheaper.
Francis Antonio said, "Why 4 on the column? People give me a break." It was just something that came up. Like, did they ever make a 4 on the column? A 4 on the tree is actually what I think I said, right?
Joe Oberon says, if you gave up the reverse 4 on the tree, wouldn't be too hard. No, 4. I told you there was a guy in my area on Staten Island in the 70s that had a Pontiac Catalina, and he had a 4-speed in it, and it had he had hooked up to the factory column linkage, and then on the floor he put a hole in the floor and put a lever on there to operate reverse. So he'd neutral it out on the column and then put it in reverse. That was, and there were, I think there were, that wasn't a really crazy, unusual thing to do back in the day.
Well, and you know, the way I see it is he probably got a replacement transmission. It was a 4-speed.
Right.
And that's all he could find. And the car was originally a 3-speed. And he was like, well, I can make it work if I just lose reverse on the column.
Right.
Well, so I'd stopped here. Stoic Steel, UT, is there a cheap way to make a 318 in a 92 W250? I don't know what that is. Is that the heavy-duty four-wheel drive?
A better towing motor. Yeah, you're better off with the 360 in that, man. You're really better off with a 360.
Can you put a stroke or crank from a 360 and a 318?
Well, you would have to turn the bearing. You'd have to turn the main
crank
bearings down.
Turn it down to fit it's a smaller journal on the 318. Okay.
Right. But even at that, you end up with 346 inches. You're just better off going with a 360. Or if you're stuck on, you got each 318 out and it's apart, and you're going to put it together. Pick up a 4-inch crank and throw it in there, and you end up with 390 cubic inches. And
it probably would be a torque monster with that bore and the stroke.
Yeah, good grunt motor.
Just make sure you go with I found I did a short rod setup in my 393 Windsor in my Ford truck, and I wish I would have went with the long rod setup in there. And the reason for that is not so much it actually would have more torque with the short rod, right? But the problem what I found is that it's very prone to detonation. You put enough load behind it, and then you can't hardly drive it, even with like 93 octane gas in it. It just doesn't like it.
Zach Roberts, thank you, sir. I appreciate that. Any experience with newer style 4-wheel drive off-road carburetors? I've used Q-Jets in the past and wondered if they were worth it for. The Q-Jet is actually an excellent off-road carburetor because of the central float ball. I have no experience with aftermarket like the Hollies
off-road carbs.
Yeah, I have no experience with them.
I've heard good things about them, but the thing that I've seen people do is take all that stuff off and put throttle body fuel injection on them.
The wrench, I'm going to find out where the 4-inch bore and stroke is going to make. So you go bore times bore.
That's easy. It's 400 cubic inches.
Yeah, 4.2.
Yeah.
Is it 4? Is it 4.2? It's bore times stroke times 6.2832.
When you're talking a 4-inch bore motor, it's just whatever your stroke is. So when it's a 4-inch bore engine, you just whatever the stroke is how big the motor is going to be. That's the easiest way to do it. Like a 383 Chevy, 385 stroke, right? Or it's 375 stroke, but it's got a 30 over bore. So if you didn't do the 30 over bore, it'd be 5 cubic inches less, and it would be 379. So it's really close to 375. That's the easy way to do it when it's a 4-inch bore. It's whatever the stroke is.
I never did it that way. I never thought of that.
I just kind of stumbled upon it because I'm like, man, the math is always adding up pretty close.
Well, let's see. So a 360 is a 4-inch bore with a 3.58 crank.
Yeah, so 360 cube.
358 cube. Yeah.
Travis Wright. Oh, well, I was in the Navy from 1994 to 2017. I was probably at your CB base if you were down at CBC Gulfport. I was there from 2002 to 2005.
One bit Amex. I had a discussion with a friend of mine today. He wants to graft in B-body torsion bar in an F-body, trying to reduce weight on the nose-heavy F-body. What are your thoughts and suggestions? I mean, you're better off with an A-body setup. Just take the whole torsion bar crossmember and graft it into the car. I mean, it would work. You'd have to use A-body control arms. I think you can get away with the F-body K-frame. I think that if you just use the A-body lower control arms and the A-body Can you get away with that? Geez, I'm trying to think if you can use those lower control arms. I don't know. Somebody who's more familiar with the interchange of front suspension on the F bodies would be able to answer that question better than I can.
Jeff Wilbert says, I missed the Navy sensitivity training. There's a lot of trainings I don't miss.
Kevin, bore times stroke times number of cylinders times 7.854 equals cubes. Yeah, but that's an extra step. My way has even less than that. It's bore times stroke times 6.2832. So you have to eliminate one less thing. And if you're doing it with a 4-cylinder engine, it's pi. It's 3.141, all that. Gary Lilly says he was at Radio Island, North Carolina when they went to Iraq. The ship bow swung open and they drove the convoy onto a boat, back up, closed the bow, and went to the Gulf.
Huh.
Okay.
Oh,
hey, Dallas, look what time it is.
Dang, we're already at 2 hours.
We are at 2 hours. This flew.
Well, thanks, South Jersey Jim. Yeah, well, I did it for you guys.
You did it for the cash.
I did it because I got a job, a full-time job.
You got a job.
And I could eat.
Tonight was fun. Do 2.5 hours today? Oh no, man. I got stuff. I got to do. Sean Vegas says it felt like 5 hours.
You should be on this side where it feels even longer.
Charlotte says his dad was on the USS North Carolina.
Oh, wow.
BB-55.
Serious one there. You know, they got like a 9-inch thick hull. 9-inch thick of steel, yeah.
Gary Lilly, totally balancing and blueprinting, you for or against it? It just depends on what you're trying to accomplish.
What's the application? Peter Kovacs really wants me to get an Opal now. Obviously. Or 4 Opals.
All right. So guys, we're gonna pull the plug.
Hey, Joe K, that's a good idea. Overnight live marathon tech talk like the paint drying.
I tell you, I mean, I'm not against it. I'm definitely not against it.
We should do it. Uncle Tony's garage up all night. Everybody's in PJs.
We think we've done that. I think we did that when we first started the channel. like one of our first lives, you know, the regular Sunday Night Live.
Was it up all night?
It was like an up all night pajama party.
What we should do is like play corny movies in the background, and you and I narrate it, kind of like a Mystery Science Theater 3000. Play car movies, and then we'll pick apart the car movies.
Well, we're going to do something for New Year's. We
are definitely
doing something.
And this is something you've never seen.
Well, and even if we don't do that particular thing, we're definitely going to do something New Year's Eve, and it'll be an overnight thing. So you know, but I don't have any details yet. I still have to work out exactly what we're going to do. So or exactly how it's going to be done.
Sean Vegas says, "Pull the plug."
I'm pulling a plug, Sean. I'm pulling a plug. So our fantastic, awesome, superhuman mods, right? Harry, John, Fubar, Zero. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much. Everybody contributed with Super Chat. Thank you. It keeps the wheels turning. Dallas.
I need to thank you all for those of you that supported me over on Mr. Rodder's Neighborhood and the AHRA Drag Racing History Channel. Thank you so much. And those of you that bought merch, thank you so much.
Doug Gidd sent $5. Thank you, Doug. UTG, thanks for the education. Shipmate, thanks for your service.
Thanks. Well, it sounds like Doug might have been a squid.
So I hope we all had fun. Guys, thank you so much. I appreciate everything. And Sunday night, this Sunday night, Steve Magnanti should be with us. He couldn't make it last week.
What?
Yeah.
This
Sunday night.
Is he coming to your place?
No. We'll do this thing.
We got to talk him into coming to this New Year's live.
I mean, that's a possibility. That's a possibility.
That would be cool.
I'm gonna invite some people who may or may not show up. I'm not even gonna say who they are. I'm not even gonna tell him who they are. I'm gonna keep it to myself, but I'm gonna make the invitations anyway. So it could be an interesting night.
Steve's gonna replace me. Sorry, I got big shoes to fill, and I don't think Steve Magnante could do it. All right, you got to know less about everything else.
BS Customs. I'm waiting for Tony and Dallas to end up at the 2.4 hours of Lamont. I'm not going to go there.
I think we should crash it. I think we should have crashed it. Show up in our own cop car and just drive out there while they're going by. Right? Nobody would even know. Be like, who the hell is that car?
Fast thing. You should do a short live stream on precious metals once a week. That's not entirely out of the range of possibilities. I don't talk about this stuff obviously on the channel because we make car videos, but I actually am more than familiar with the precious metals market. So yeah, I actually could do that. That is my thing actually.
Tony and Dallas dress up as the Blues Brothers in an old Monaco. That would be cool.
Look, now we're over 2 hours.
That's it.
We've
you guys, overtime.
We're done, man. So thank you, everybody. We'll see you on Sunday Live. We'll see him next Wednesday. Mr. Rotter's neighborhood, Mr. Rotter's garage.
Mr. Rotter's neighborhood.
Mr. Rotter's neighborhood, and the AHRA Drag Racing History Channel. So go like, subscribe, share, ring the bell, do a dance, right? Light candles. And we are out of here, guys. I'm done. You're done?
I'm done.
All right, we're out. See you later.
Somebody said Opal was the new fentanyl.